Hey, the king is back. Welcome to the channel, welcome to the video. The UFC over the years has given us some of the most incredible moments in sports history, but sometimes it's not just the knockouts or submissions or the fight outcomes that makes headlines. Today we're talking about three of the wildest, craziest incidents that left the entire MMA world in shock. From backstage brawls to illegal strikes, the UFC's seen it all. So I'm going to break it down. 3 unforgettable moments when the drama outside the cage was just insane as the action inside. Let's get started. The Strikeforce Brawl, April 17th, 2010. Alright, so the first incident I'm going to talk about didn't happen in the UFC, but it's iconic, okay, with UFC figureheads that pretty much any UFC fan will be aware of. We have to include it. We're talking about the Strikeforce Brawl in 2010. While not under the UFC banner at the time, it's part of UFC history because it involves fighters who will later compete in the UFC, and it's a perfect example of how things can spiral out of control after a fight. After Jake Shields defended his middleweight title against Dan Henderson at Strikeforce in Nashville, things got wild. Jason Mayhem Miller, who in the early days of MMA was a pretty big superstar as he was the host of a show called Bully Beatdown, he grabbed the mic and demanded a rematch with Shields, who had just fought an absolute war. And what happened next? Yeah, all hell broke loose. Shields' teammates, including Gilbert Melendez and both of the Diaz brothers, obviously both big stars in their own right, didn't take kindly to Mayhem's interruption and saw it as a disrespect and a slight, and they launched into an all-out brawl in the cage. Fists were flying everywhere. For a moment it felt like a full-on gang war, right, going on. You had both these teams fucking like going bah, bah, bah. Okay, it was crazy. It didn't seem like an organized sport. The incident was a PR disaster, with the fight broadcasted live on CBS for a national audience. It gave MMA a bit of a black eye in the public eye at the time, but if you look at it now, it's become one of these legendary moments that fans just talk about. And you know, for Strikeforce, it's something that Strikeforce will be remembered for, which some may see that as a bad thing. I personally I think it shows the heart of MMA, because I don't think MMA should be a big professional thing. I think it is great. It is what it is, you know what I mean? Dana White famously hated Strikeforce at the time, and this incident only reinforced his feelings. But the wildest part, some of these fighters in that melee went on to become UFC stars like Jake Shields and Nick and Nate Diaz. This was the chaotic, unruly side of MMA at its peak, and it's still one of the most insane things to happen in the sport. And here's some footage from it.
Feel like you just conquered the world.
Definitely, you know, I mean, I love CBS and Strikeforce. They definitely weren't giving me due respect, but Henderson's a true legend, man. I'm glad you were beating him. He beat the crap out of the worst I've ever been beat that first round.
What's up? Where's my rematch, buddy?
Wow.
Yeah, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. Not what the?
This is my only concern.
Yeah.
My God.
All right. Sometimes these things happen in MMA. A lot of testosterone in the cage. Gentlemen, we're on national television. Gentlemen, we're in national television. We are going to step away right now on CBS. Back right after this.
What happened tonight, man?
That little bitch boy came in and tried to push my boy right after he's done fighting.
You want a shot at Mayhem?
I don't fuck that motherfucker.
All right, Jason. Crazy night tonight, brother. What happened?
Man, I just wanted to ask for my rematch. You know, I feel really bad that whole thing went down like that, but I just wanted to ask for a rematch. I wasn't trying to get in a big brawl. It's terrible that happened, but
what do you think?
Now the next incident that I want to talk about is the UFC 151. Why did I say it like that? I just say 151, you dope. Fucking idiot. But anyway, we've got the UFC 151 cancellation that occurred on August 23rd, 2012. And what was this? Okay, first of all, an event that never happened. That's what it was. UFC 151. This was the first and still the only time a UFC event has been cancelled. It sent shockwaves through the MMA world and left fans frustrated. The main event was supposed to be light heavyweight title fight between John Jones and Dan Henderson, but just 8 days before the fight, Henderson pulled out due to knee injury. Now, injuries happen all the time in MMA. It's a part of the sport, it's a part of any sport. But what made the situation wild was what followed after. The UFC offered Jones a replacement fight against Charles Sonnen, who, by the way, was coming off a loss to Anderson Silva at middleweight. So yes, he's a division below and hadn't been preparing for this fight at all. Sonnen, being the loudmouth that he is, jumped at the chance, okay? Also, Charles Sonnen was decent, but he was never that good. But John Jones turned the fight down. That decision by Jones to decline the fight didn't sit well with the UFC or Dana White. Dana was furious. In fact, he went public blaming Jones and coach Greg Jackson for the cancellation. He said it was the first time a champion had ever refused to save an event. Dana's exact words were, Greg Jackson is a sport killer. And just like that, UFC 151 became a ghost event. My phone, shut the fuck up. Okay. The UFC was forced to cancel the entire card, which was a huge financial hit, not just for the promotion, but also for the fighters who trained and prepared, only to be left without a paycheck. The backlash against Jones was immediate. Fans turned on him, calling him selfish for not stepping up. But here's the thing, Jones was only 25 years old at the time, was protecting his career and legacy. Still, UFC 151's cancellation was a massive turning point for Jones' relationship with the fans, and it set stage for the divisive, somewhat controversial, very controversial career that would follow, and the great criticism that John would get for various reasons. But this was his first ever controversy, and the fight with Dan Henderson would never happen. But a Charles Sonnen fight would, and here's Dana White going off his fucking head about it.
And let's welcome in UFC President Dana White. Dana, walk us through your decision-making process. What were your options after Henderson pulled out?
Well, obviously, to fight a guy like Johnny Bones Jones on 8 days' notice, it's tough to get a replacement. I called, Machida is the #1 contender after Henderson, and when I called him, he was literally on a flight landing in some country for a connecting flight to Brazil. So, we exhausted all the options. We called Chael Sonnen. Chael Sonnen literally said to me, I'll fight him tonight in Las Vegas at Mandalay Bay or any other casino you choose. And he was ready to go. We called John Bones Jones. Not only is he the world champion, he's one of the top 3 ranked, pound-for-pound fighters in the world. He said, I will not fight Chael Sonnen on 8 days' notice.
It was certainly one of the biggest draws in the world. So it was only because of the 8 days' notice? I mean, did he give you any other reasoning for why he refused to fight Sonnen?
His coach, Greg Jackson, told him not to take the fight, saying it would be the biggest mistake that he's ever made in his entire career, which is absolutely insane. The guy is the world champion. He's beat all the top guys over the last, year and a half. We bought the UFC in 2001. I've done almost 1,800 fights. No fighter has ever turned down a fight, and this is the first ever UFC that's ever.
Oh! Daly punches Koscheck at the end of the fight, and look at Dan Mergliotta.
Oh! Wow! Paul, are you kidding me? You're professional. Come on. Paul, you're professional. Yeah, I know. You promised me. Promise me.
Wow. That was terrible.
You'll see. We will see, Josh. Yeah, you're going to wrestle. You're going to try and wrestle yourself out of getting beat the fuck up. But this is no wrestling match, mate. We're not going to wrestle. Try wrestle me. What's going to happen when you fail your first takedown, your second takedown? Start getting tired. Those old bones start to ache. And I'm coming for you. I'm coming for you, brother. Charles, see what's going to happen? Yeah. Hey, Charles.
But anyway, that's me done. I think I gave some good incidents. I might do a part 2 to this down, but abroad there's a lot of shit that I could bring up. But anyway, man, I'm out. Like, subscribe, do it like in a bit.